Guys, today we'll be talking about single pole switches. This is a typical toggle single pole switch. Single pole switch, all it does is just interrupts the power going to a light source or your light, ceiling light, um, anything that you want to turn off from one point or one location. There's also three-way switches, four-way switches. That would be in separate video. We'll be just covering the single pole switches. Single pole switch, it has two connections for your hot wire, your line and your load. It doesn't matter where you connect them, either to this screw or this brass screw. All it does, it opens and closes the contact. When the contact is closed, the light is on. When you open the switch, obviously you shut the light off or any kind of source or load that you're controlling with this switch. So you have the two screws for your power and one screw for your grounding. I will actually show you my little diagram how a single pole switch gets wired in a box. So this right here, this is the ground. The ground wire gets connected through with the wire nut, and it just ties through in your box and goes to your light source or anything that you're switching, whatever application you're using it for. Then the neutral wire, white wire, it also just ties through and goes to the light or your source. This is the hot wire, the black wire. This is the switch where you the two wires, they're getting connected to that switch. I'm gonna show you the Romex wire. This is a typical residential wire that you usually use in the house. Now they're making the Romex jacket white in color. That represents the amperage, how much it's gonna be carrying. This is a 15 amp wire, so you're supposed to use a 15 amp breaker or smaller breaker, not bigger breaker. This only can carry up to 15 amps. So the black wire is your hot wire. This is the bare copper. This is for ground. And this one is white for your neutral. Like I showed you, the neutral, it gets just connected through in your switch box and goes to your we're talking about the light, so to your light fixture. The ground wire, it also gets a wire nut and just ties through and goes to your light source, but we'll also be talking about the pigtail that we'll be making to connect the switch ground. So I have two cables on the table here. The cable with a black mark is gonna represent the line or the power cable coming from, if it's a home run, coming from your distribution panel or your breaker panel. And this regular white wire, it's gonna represent your load wire going to your light. So how do you wire this? I'm gonna show you real quick. So first, you're just gonna connect the two white neutral wires together. We're gonna use a wire nut and we're gonna just wire knot it together just like that. Make sure it's nice and tight. Then the ground wire, we're gonna connect it together, but we're gonna also get another piece of ground wire, copper, and put all three of them together with the wire knot, and I will show you in a second what for. So you just connect this together. Now you have left pretty much just three wires, two blacks and a bare ground wire. So how do you connect this to your switch? So the two black wires, you have the two options. Either put these wires under the screw, or this switch has these small holes. You can just strip about ½ an inch of insulation and stick them into the back of the switch, just like that. You can do the same thing to the other wire, but for I'm just gonna show you how do you strip to use the screw, just so you know. You strip it about an inch or so of insulation, and you just bend this, making a bend, and you put in this wire under the screw. Once you put it under, you tighten this brass screw and make a good snug connection. So now it's not going anywhere. The last thing you gotta do is connect your ground wire. You bend it the same way, like a little hook, and put it under the ground screw. Oops, came out. And that's pretty much how do you connect your single pole switch. And obviously all this staying in the box, so this is just for just to show you how do you wire it, how do you connect it. Now I'm gonna show you how to troubleshoot a single pole switch. To troubleshoot it, you're gonna need a multimeter. Right now I'm gonna use a Fluke 189 model, and I'm gonna use continuity tester. Continuity tester is pretty much what it does. It shows you if piece of wire is actually broken or not. So whenever you touch a piece of metal like this, for instance a screwdriver, and you get the connection, you get the sound, pretty much saying that the line is closed. So what we're trying to do right now is to troubleshoot the switch. Make sure you have you disconnect the breaker in your breaker panel, and you have no power. You can also check for power by turning the your multimeter to AC voltage, and you can just go from ground to your hot side. Right now it shows 0 volts. 0 volts here too. So now you know that you have no power, as long as your ground is connected inside of your panel. So now we're gonna switch this fluke meter to ohms, and now if you press this option it will actually switch to alright, now we can check for continuity. Now this switch right now is in off position, so right now it should be disconnected. The switch should be open inside. The contacts should be open. So let's see. The contacts are open. The fluke doesn't make that sound. Now let's keep holding the leads and flip the switch. And if this switch is working correctly, you should hear the sound. So that tells you that the switch is good, and the switch inside the contacts are switching like there should be. When the switch in off position, the contacts are open. When the switch is in on position, contacts are closed. And again, you can check that with your continuity tester. If you have your multimeter, this is the ohms. Ohms is pretty much checking the resistance. The sign above right here, like a little lines right there, that represents continuity. So with the continuity tester you can also check the wire. For instance, if the wire in the jacket, and you know that the power from the panel goes out, but you don't get the power here, you shut the breaker off and you just use your continuity tester on each side of the wire, and if there is no continuity, then that means the wire is broken. Alright guys, thanks for watching the video. Later.